Hey everyone, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. So for this tutorial today, I thought I'd get a little fun and funky. Let's do some expressive watercolor. What does that mean? Well, it's just taking an object or something you see and making the watercolor feel like it has movement, it has expression. It's just not this flat looking object that's realistic, which is nice, but more creative, more expressive of the artist with the colors, with the way you're putting the strokes in, all that fun stuff. So here I'm going to show you what I did to create this fun expressive pear. For an idea for you to paint, you can use this same technique for anything, for like doing cups, bowls, any objects that you like, people, flowers, you name it. It's just another way of expressing yourself with watercolor. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just please people go and support my channel. Boop, right there, you can see it. So without further ado, let's get expressive. All right, peeps, for this video, I'll go over some supplies that I'm using. For the paper, I'm using Fabriano Artist Block. This is the Aquarello 100% cotton cold press traditional white pad. You'll see how the block, it's got the glue on the sides here. So this way I don't have to tape down paper. It will stay completely flat when it's dry. This is really good if you have wet on wet and you're not going to have anything to put water on the background and laminate it, kind of like the other one I showed you, wet on wet. This is where I want it to be wet in some areas and dry in some areas. So this kind of block is great for that. And this is a kind of fairly inexpensive block. I mean, the blocks can be real expensive for Arche and some other papers, but this one I found to be not as bad. So I think there's a link in the description box. I'm not sure, but I think there is one, because I think I bought this one off Amazon actually. Paints, we'll go over them as I use them. So basically, we're going to be drawing, and the brushes, I'll be using bigger brushes, like a 12 Princeton Neptune, Princeton 8 long round, and maybe some bigger brushes like this number 6 Neptune, just to wash in color. Or I can even use a flat wash brush. So really, think of this kind of tutorial as an idea, of course, and a technique, okay? So the idea is we're doing this, it's called expressive watercolor. So you're basically taking a shape or an object, whatever you have, and you can see it's the object, whatever it's going to be, but then you make all the paint around it kind of like it's exploding or expressive, and you just feel like it's, I wouldn't say angry, but just wild and creative, right? So it makes it interesting. It's just another thing to think about with watercolor. You don't have to paint things completely super realistic. You can paint them with expression, which I'm trying to teach on my channel, is that it's all about expression, it's all about creativity, and not to be stuck in one particular thing, because if you want to grow as an artist, it's kind of fun to play with everything, right? So I decided to do, like, my object was going to be pears. It could be a bowl or a mug, it could be a flower, it could be an animal, but just to keep it simple for everybody, pears, and we'll just draw a pear. I have a mechanical pencil here. So pears, basically it's like a round circle on the bottom, and then it goes into I call it roundish hood on the top. So you just start by, you can see this, I'll zoom in a little bit better, curve, right, smaller curve, and then you're curving down. Now it doesn't have to be perfect pear, it just looks like that, right? If you want to have more than one, you can have another one kind of like laying on the ground. Maybe that was a little too small compared to the other one. I'll erase it with my little eraser. And I don't even know if I want one next to each other, because I really want to show you some kind of fun kind of stuff. I might just keep the pear by itself, right? Or maybe I'll have another one just kind of like sitting here, leaning. And then you can have the stem just like that. So it's kind of like, you think of a circle. Draw a circle first, right? and then do a little cap, like a little mountain. Boom. That's it. And you can make the mountain skinnier like this one, but not as skinny. So again, like this one, you draw the circle and make this mountain kind of lean this way. And that's how you do the pear, right? It's not a perfect circle. It's kind of a haphazard kind of circle. And then you can imagine, like, if you want to have it on a table or something, the background could be any way you want it. Obviously, it has to be not below the pear. It could be, but no. Like in the middle up here or down here, I'm going to kind of go in here. Just a line across. That's it. That's all she wrote, right? So, like, again, I said you could use many different types of objects, whatever you feel like. So this is where the fun begins, right? We're going to be painting the pears in the background, and the background and the pears are going to just be kind of crazy, kind of just vibrant, expressionistic. I'm going to leave some parts not painted, all that good stuff. So mix up many colors. I have this cadmium red light I'll be playing with. Yellows, oranges. It's a pear. I got the yellow, bright cadmium yellow, deep. Mix up some greens. So of course we use the yellow with the peacock blue. We get a nice green. But we want some dark tones too. So we get that nice Prussian blue here, right? Ultramarine blue. We've got this Paynes gray. I actually had the blue with that. Clean that off. Keep the gray. I'm going to add a little brown, which is burnt umber, to my gray, so it's not so bluish gray. I want it more like a deep brown gray. So I have a bunch of colors going here, right? And it could be I have some other colors in here on my palette. I burnt sienna. I somehow got yellow ochre in here. So we're just going to play with painting in the pear and then painting around the pear. And then we're going to go in and do some expressive stuff. Now you can use pencils, charcoal, all kinds of other things. Gouache, acrylic ink. I have some acrylic inks here. White. Ink itself, pen and ink. This is like a mixed media, if you want it to be a crazy kind of thing. Just having a little bit of fun. So I'm going to take my number 12. And I might start off with making your basic pear kind of color tones, with some yellow, grabbing the red to make a little bit of orange. I'm staying in the shape for now, right? Just doing that, adding some greens, because pears, and see how I'm just really loosely painting this with my number 12 brush. Get a little bit darker with some Prussian blue on this green. Up in here where the stem could be. Grab my green again. Just really kind of putting that color in. And now my brush, right, is a little dirty. So some brown, but I don't mind the brown. Gonna grab that yellow back again. Just keeping it light. I might leave a little white kind of halo in here. My finger. And go back and add some green. Pears are kind of like multicolors sometimes. Go back and add that red. Can even get that pigment really strong. So just really loose. It doesn't have to be anything particular. Get that blue. See, I got blue right in there. And I add the yellow for the green. See how I just put the blue color right on the paper? And then added the yellow right to it. You can say that with the peacock. Peacock, every time I say the word peacock, I think of like the game Clue. See? Simple pear. Just adding the blue. Again, this is Prussian blue. I don't care that it's blue and you see blue. It's an expression of my creativity for my pear. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a particular thing. I'm going to add more yellow up in here. Right? Now we're going to go hit the second pear. Let's go to the second pear. And this is wet on dry, by the way. Dry paper, wet paint. Maybe make this a little more yellowish, because pears can be yellow or green. Grab some more bright yellow. See, I'm going to start putting all the yellow in this pair. Just again, lucid painting it. I'm adding some burnt umber with green. You can go back and add the green also. Playing around with this. I don't care if it looks perfect or not. I'm just getting kind of expressive. I love the Prussian blue right in there. It's great. It just adds that, like, you know, that boom. And I'm going to add the red. So I kind of copied that one. I don't necessarily have to do that. I might go add more yellow, make it more orangey. Change it up a little bit. Okay. At this point, we're going to have a little fun. Now, we do want to wait till this dries completely before we go and have a super fun, because if we don't, what's going to happen is it's going to bleed. It could bleed too. It's fine. We can do that. I would like to lift it up. If you want to try this a little bit, I was going to wait till it dries, but we can play around with it. So I'm lifting it up on an angle. It's like 2 inches. And we can grab some of these grays, some browns. There's blue on this one. I'm going to mix up the brown. This is burnt umber. Even some blue we got here. This is the cobalt blue. I mixed it with the green. Now it's this nice bluish gray color. So remember, we have this line here, right? We start to play with putting in some of these grays in the line. So this is still damp. I think it's going to bleed, so I don't really want to get too close. Now you can get really thick with the paint. Yeah, I think that's too wet still. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for it to dry and come back. All right, I let that kind of dry, so I want to come back and I don't want to mess it up. So we can start to put some colors in the background. Could be light grays, yellows, mustardy colors, browns. I don't want to keep this part dark. I'm keeping it fairly light for now. See? Just like that. And then in here, same thing. So I'm just grabbing browns and blues right under the pear, keeping it kind of light. Right? And we're going to start to paint in some more color. We're going to start with this bluish gray, or any kind of blue kind of, they got that cobalt mixed with that green, turn gray a little bit. Going back and adding it here. But you see, I'm not really caring that it's a particular color. Just kind of pushing it. Now at this point, you're going to be real expressive with your paint, right? I'm grabbing some browns. You can crisscross them. You can grab some grays, get a little bit darker. See? You get this dry brush thing happening. That's why a bigger brush might work better. Got this blue, this cobalt. Ooh, yeah. Gonna give that shadow, but maybe grab a really big brush you have here. So this is that number 6. I'm gonna grab some yellows and browns. I just really kind of get crazy with it. See, a little bit of red, just right in here. A little bit of blue, grabbing on the tip, tapping on my paper towel. Kind of leaving some white in there still. You can take the blue itself, get a little jiggy with it. And then this color seems to just blend into the yellow, so we're going to start adding some blues or grays, browns, more cobalt or peacock. That peacock is really intense, so I'm going to get the cobalt in there. Here we go. Just really line that. See how you're just going to, right underneath that pear, highlight that pear, and then you just go poof, poof, poof. Get expressive. That's what I mean by expressive. See, that's a bright peacock color. I don't necessarily like that, so I'm going to go back with some brown. Very damp in here still, right? So you want to kind of play around with adding in the color. while it's damp, and then going back in doing some layers. So now I'll take the brush. You can kind of hold it on its side. I'm going to grab a different color, clean it off. You can still do a dry brush even though your brush is wet. Just kind of to damp it off with a paper towel. I'm going to grab some of this yellow ochre mixed in. See how I'm getting expressive? Just like that with the brush. I didn't mention that we have paper towels, but you kind of can see that I have a paper towel. Right? We'll be going back in again, another layer. But see how I'm just going like this? I'm going to add some of that cobalt blue with that brown. Even grab some Prussian or ultramarine blue. Really just get in there. Even some dark Paynes gray mixed in with the ultramarine blue. Just want to get some deep dark color in here. Right? And you can damp it off again. If you felt like it got too dark, just take some paper towels and remove. See that? Remove some of the paint. Again, another way to make it expressive. Right? Just simple things like this. Now, we're going to do this background from top. My water is kind of muddy, but which is kind of fine for me because I don't really care if it's muddy or not. Figure out what colors you want in the background, maybe more blue tones. I'm grabbing some cobalt, mixing with all the colors that I had here. It's just like one big mishmash. See, I'm just going like this. Holding the brush on the side, moving it around. And maybe you don't paint background, just some of it. Grabbing that cobalt and that brown. More brown. Get even darker. Again, just kind of move the brush around, creating those kind of cool dry brush strokes. Right? Now at this point, you might want to take a small brush like the Princeton 8 long round and grab some cobalt right out of the tube here. I really want the pigment in there. It's still very wet, so I'm going to have to be playing around with some of this. Add some gray, all that stuff. And this is still very wet. We're going to be doing layering kind of with the expression here. See how I'm taking the brush? So I can make skinnier strokes. We can add the stem, so burnt umber and gray, whatever you want to do. It might bleed a little bit if it's too wet still. But that, again, adding more layers. Grab some black on your brush. See? Make some lines. See, I just did some lines. Remember, we're getting expressive. We don't necessarily have to have flat colors, right? We can go back in again with some greens. That's a little bright, but fix that up, fix the pear a little more. I'm going to go play around with adding some more greens again. Another layer. Again, just changes the composition even more, right? Don't be afraid to add some bright colors. So I've got that red, water that down. You can start to play with even splattering paint. See what happens. Just You want it to have this expressive, crazy kind of like quality to it. And again, if you felt like it was too dark, kind of remove some paint. Look at that. Just by looking at movements like this. Right? I do want it darker though, so I'm going to wait till it dries and go back in and add some like flat colors to it, you know? But I do want you guys to just play with your paint. I had some just right out of the tube, concentrated, kind of yellow, red down here. Get kind of wild. See how I just did that? There's no rules on this stuff. Darker color right here. Right? Maybe some blue. Again, expressive. Gonna go back in. I put this color down, then I go back in and I'll just water it. Move it around a little bit. Even kind of hit the pear a little bit. See? All this movement. I know it seems kind of crazy, but it's kind of fun. Just gets you out of your doldrums. If I didn't like those lines, I can go back in and kind of push them around. Blah. And we have the expressive color again. Just going in there, adding a little green. Might add some yellow back here. Be careful not to overwork it, because then your paper kind of pills. So I'm seeing it's starting to do some of that here. I don't want to touch it anymore with the wet on wet. I'm going to go back in here and play a little more with this. And a little bit here. I do like the hard line, so the wet on wet can sometimes be too much. But there's a lot of expression going on here. And I can kind of put some of the color out here. Woo. Right? To fill the page. And again, if you thought it was, don't go too crazy, but just maybe tap at this point if the color was too much. But you still see some of the pigment of the red, which I love. And you just twist and turn, you get this nice texture. It's kind of cool. And that's kind of it. Like you're just playing with this. And then you can go back in when it's dry and you can use some pen and ink. You can draw. So you're just having fun. Like I you know, with the power of YouTube, I let it dry and I'm going to go back in with my like blackish gray colors and I can outline, get even more expressive, the pears. Kind of loose. Add the stem. Right? Just do some simple marks like that. You can splatter the paint, even when it's dry. Add some real expressive splatters, maybe bigger ones. Just, again, playing. When you're doing another layer, so I can do another layer of shadow here, that would be a little bit loose paint. See? Another layer of the brown. And then you could add blues or whatever you want to do. Here's cobalt. I'm going to lift this up so it's mostly cobalt. Just like that. Can we get more blue? We've got that peacock, it's so intense. Ultramarine blue, tone it down with a little brown. All these different things you could do. You might not have wanted it. Maybe you wanted some more white in there. You know, it's up to you. This side I didn't paint as much. I'm not sure if I even like that. I might remove it. All these fun things. But see, it wasn't just like your regular kind of pear. It was just adding all this kind of dark, funky elements. I'm going to go back in here and distinguish that it's on a table. Right? And add some of that going across here. So I'll do that line, and then I'll just water down some of the color again. So it's kind of like impressionistic, right? Impressionistic. Go back in and add some bright yellows, mustards. It's kind of dry brush technique now at this point. Minimal water. Just playing around with color. Right? Just brushing, guys, and then do the same. This kind of looks like flat, right? So I'll do some dry brushing in here. Dry brush, which means you have minimal water on your paint. Tap it on the paper towel, that helps. See? Get some brown in there. Now it gets really expressive. This is kind of how they do it. The color could even come down in here. Get that red color. Ooh, that's a little too much pigment. Happens. But your eye's going to go right to that. Right? Having fun with your art. You can use watercolor in many ways. I'm going to add that red pigment right in there. You can draw a pattern in the background with pen. You can use the paint for a pattern. You know, do some lines. That's how you make it more expressive. See, just doing some dull little gray lines here. Just changes it, doesn't it? That just changed that whole look. All these things you need to play with, guys. I kind of wish I had a little more light over here. I could try and play with this where I remove some of the paint. Let's see what happens. It gets a little bit lighter. You could actually at this point take some gouache. That's why I like it. Mixed media. Here we go. Add a little white gouache to my green, whatever color. And get lighter. Even add a little white itself. I might just grab the white. See? Now it's changed even more. If I messed up and I didn't have like a little bit white, just add that. Can even add white in here. See? Taking my brush, dry brushing, getting that expression kind of happening. All this good stuff. Things to play with, guys. Things to play with. So I hope you enjoyed this. You might not have enjoyed this. I don't know. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Let me know if this is something that's fascinating for you. I'm just giving you ideas, you know. Get creative with your stuff. Don't always have to paint the perfect pear. Or a bowl or a cup. Going in here with the yellow. Changing it up even more. So there you go. I hope this was exciting and different. I'm going back and adding some more yellow. Just playing. So there you have it, guys. You know, if you want to take pencils or start to squiggle in some, sketching. That adds a lot of more, adds more kind of a cool kind of look to it. You can take markers as well. I have the fountain pen. See, all these things you can do. It's going to change the look. Expressive, expressive, expressive. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.